talking a bunch of nonsense. There, we are live. Episode 9, The Divide. Got my co-host Joey, my good friend, my good friend PC, my PC friend Paul, and your good friend Fatal Mephisto, no longer known as Bear Hugger 29.
You can still call me Bear though if you like.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like the Icy thing, right? Like you guys are probably always going to call me Icy no matter what. So
exactly.
I mean, I try not to do that, but to be fair, it's hard. You know what I mean? But
especially hard D-pad.
Well, no. See, here's the thing with Bear. I spend a lot of time with Bear, so Bear's just a knee-jerk reaction.
But look, I'm sitting in Rev's solid cast, and I can't remember if this was before we went live or after we went live, but he just told me straight up, he's like, Icy, look, man, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your channel. I just think D-pad first fucking sucks. And you can do whatever you want on your channel, but Icy Rhythms to me just sounds better. I'm like, nah, man, I get that. I understand.
To me, with the D-pad first, it's like I always have to be like, pause. I always feel like I need to say pause after I say that. I don't know why. It's because of the strong D in the beginning. See?
So
pause.
why D-pad?
Because it's controller related, right? It's like gaming related, right?
Yeah, it's gaming related. I'll admit, I do think that Icy Rhythm it does roll off the tongue better. It does sound cooler. I get that, but I don't know. Maybe someday, not anytime soon. What's up? Kraken, Shinobi, Mambo? How you guys doing?
It's a certain je ne sais quoi with the Icy Rhythms. You know what I mean? It's.
So these topics, this podcast is probably going to be all over the place, but that's, we haven't done one for a while, so sometimes you just don't have structure. It is what it is. Let's get this out of the way. Let's talk about this, and I'm not sure if Joey or Bear have played at PUBG, but maybe Paul can give some insight, give his opinion on why this is, but. Actually, today, I think it was, PUBG surpassed CSGO in concurrent player numbers. So I think that's the first time that's happened, maybe ever, or at least in a long time with another game. And I don't want to talk too much trash, but I do want to give my take on PUBG and just the way I feel about the PC community and how much support that game has actually gotten. It's no real shot at the developers, really. It's just some confusion more so on my part. But Paul, you got anything to say like about PUBG numbers? Just being super high.
I understand. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is there like a mute button on here? Because
up at the top there's like a little mic with a slash through it.
Oh, okay, I see it now. I guess there's no push to talk.
Well, I mean, that kind of is your push to talk, more or less.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. All right, anyway. So, PUBG, I think it's so popular because you can get in and get out in 30 minutes and have your fun. Kind of like Call of Duty. But then it's got, like, the shoot and loot elements from, like, Destiny or that Ubisoft game. What's it called?
The Division?
The Division. But it's like you get your loot all in just 30 minutes and then you get out. And then there's also the element of competition and you can have some fun with your friends. So I understand why it's so popular. Even though it may be unoptimized, that's the only real
we're gonna come back to that. Joey, have you played the game? Do you have any interest in playing the game at all?
I have not had an opportunity to sit down with it. I do want it. The only issue is I'm very intrigued, and I'm actually can't wait for it to come to Xbox. I would buy it on PC, but we know how that for me, I'm always gonna only speak about myself. Is the game looks to me like you need your peoples to have fun because it's gonna get annoying. Let's say I spawn and I'm by myself and I die the first 2 minutes of a match. You know what I'm saying? So. I don't have a very big community on PC. And then a lot of games, I'm surprised this one is lasting as long because, a lot of games tend to die out on PC. So there's that thing as well. So I know when it comes to Xbox, I'm going to be all over it. And if I could find 3 or 4 or 5 people that are like, yeah, I'm going to play, then I'd get it on PC. But the people I rock with on PC don't really have any interest in it. But I can understand how the PC community, they kind of flock to games like this, like the H1Z1, the Armor Clones, which what's the other one?
DayZ there for a while.
DayZ for a while. They like this. This is very much a PC centric game. It's good that something is pushing Go out, and then, you know, maybe it's a little bit more. Maybe some of the people that have grown up on Go have grown up and are looking for a more modern or more adult take on stuff. I don't know, but the game has legs. It's just what the developers do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the learning curve, the degree of difficulty with getting good at CS:GO is it's really high. Like, I just think to get into that game, you can't hop into it like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield and immediately start playing pretty well. Like, you're going to get destroyed in that game for a good long while, and you probably won't be considered a good player until you dump 3, 4, 5,000 hours into a game like CS:GO, and nobody wants to dump that many hours into a game unless they know they're going to be having a lot of fun. And are you really going to be having a lot of fun dying over and over again? I mean, I don't know. Bear, what do you think, man? PUBG.
I definitely have interest in it for sure. It's nice to see that the Xbox is going to be getting it there relatively soon for early access wise. From what I've seen of it so far, I mean, I've seen a lot of like those Twitch fail videos, and it's like a very, very popular game that everybody's playing right now. But I think I think one of the main things that a lot of people will really do enjoy with PUBG is like that, you know, trying to be the #1 person on the map by the time the whole entire thing is all done, right? And I think that's a big thing, because like some games you'll see like you'll have like 50, 60 plus people, you know what I mean? And you could be like that last person on the map, and like you get like that sense of an adrenaline rush, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Whereas like CS:GO, you don't kind of get that unless like, I don't know, CS:GO is like its own property. But whatever the developers are doing for PUBG, I think is definitely a step in the right direction to actually bring something new that's not related to a Valve game or a mobile game. So it's definitely good. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing it though down the road when I get my Xbox, for sure. For sure.
I definitely don't want to be like Debbie Downer and like sit here and talk a bunch of trash about the game because I haven't played it. But from what I do know, based on information that guys like Paul and others that I've played other games with tell me, is that the game is just really poorly optimized. And then we go back to talking about, like Joey mentioned, PC gamers seem to flock to stuff like the H1Z1s and the DayZs and that. So it's just, in a way, it's almost a lot of the community seems maybe just a little hypocritical in a way, you know, like we complain a lot and we expect more from a lot of these games, whether you're talking about PC exclusives or console ports. And then when they're not good ports or they're just not well optimized, we complain about that. And this is a really popular game. I mean, tons of people are playing this game and it doesn't run well. I think Paul and some of the other guys that I mentioned before, like they play it on low to medium settings just to get decent frame rates. And I understand, you know, hey, the game's early access, but is this, maybe like a sign is the wrong way to put it, but like when you start talking about games like this, does it show that maybe a lot of PC gamers don't care about frame rates as much as they say, and it's really what it should be about, which is the gameplay? If the game is fun, should I just play this game? You know what I mean? Like I guess that's my thing.
If I may, I think it's it goes back to what I always say about it's always an issue until it's your thing. If you like it, you want it, you're willing to overlook anything, right? So they're enjoying this game right now. So if it's unoptimized, they'll lower the settings, they'll do whatever they have to do. There's the early, like you said, the early access, you know, thing where a lot of these early access games, they're gonna run like trash. That's the trade-off. That's already the trade-off in the head. That you go in with that supposition already, because what early access game has run silky smooth? You know what I'm saying? They always have that early access to fall back on. You know, so it's like same thing with Arc, same thing with everything else. Now you hope that the devs are doing the right thing and they're working behind the scenes to optimize everything. But again, like you just said, if it was put like this on console, there'd be very little people could do. But since it's on PC, you can sit there and mess with everything until you get it running in a way that's acceptable to you. And that's all I think everybody wants to do at the end of the day. Yeah, is that they want to play the game. So they'll sit there, they'll make whatever, and whether they go into the forums or run their mouth, or once they're happy to get it running the way they want, that's on the individual. But there's not going to be a mega outcry. I've never really seen one. Like, I never saw an outcry for Ark. I saw people get upset when they try to charge something as DLC for the early access people, which is understandable.
Yes. Yep.
And you should get upset.
Yeah.
But I didn't see people go, oh, this is shit. Like, what are they doing? And no, they're like, it's an early access game. It's kind of like, well, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to run like shit. It's like you accept it. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, it's like you're basically testing out the game for them, essentially.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're also giving them money, right? In the hopes that it's gonna get better.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And it's just how long what's a fair amount of time? I'm not really, I game on PC, you know this, I see. But I wouldn't call myself a PC gamer, so I don't really know what's an acceptable amount of late for an early access game. You know what I'm saying? I barely do. I don't think I've done anything early access, to be honest with you. So
look, there's this dungeon crawler. It's called Wolcen on Steam. It's early access. I did buy it when it first came out. I can't defend the game in its current state. There is potential there, right? I think a lot of people would say the same about PUBG. There is potential. Like, oh no, it's Alex. I think some of you guys probably know who that is. Like, he says that there's potential, but he refunded PUBG because the performance is awful. And I think, like, I don't have an issue with that. I probably would have done the same if I was just going in blind and I didn't know much about it. I probably would have refunded the game. But I think I've already put well beyond the two-hour mark in Wolcen, and I'm well beyond the 14 days. So I can't refund that game until it's looking better and running better. But I can defend Wolcen, and I won't. Like, there is potential, but the game runs like ass. It's just complete dog shit, and I won't defend that game. So it's less about the game in the developers, and it's more about the community just kind of, you know, flocking to anyone that may have an opinion about the performance and using the early access excuse. I mean, we can all say that about any early access game. Yes, I understand it's early access, but when you're presenting this game to me, I would like it to at least run somewhat well and not have to lower every setting to make that happen. But like you said, man, as long as people are having fun and they're getting the settings to a point where it's acceptable for them, like, oh, finally I can get this at 60 FPS or 80 or 85 FPS, whatever's comfortable, then they're going to play it anyway. And they're going to deal with all of the other problems that whatever, you know, said game has. So that's it, really.
I want to ask a quick question.
Sure.
In regards to something like that, right? I've come across this thing lately. It's been said a couple of times. I've said it myself, and I'm starting to believe it more. And I don't think this is right. I want to ask I don't think it should be this way, but I want to see if you notice this trend or what you say about this. Do you think that developers leave it out there for PC gamers to just brute force their games? Like, you know, there's that enthusiast set, and I know there's less enthusiast people in the PC gaming world than there is, but it's like some of these games, unless you're running high end, you're gonna have issues with, you know. And I always hear people, I had issues with this, I had issues with that. My PC is going on 2 years old. It's over 2 years now. When I got it, it was super high end. It's probably medium ring. I got a 5820K, 90 Ti, 32 gigs. Like, I never had these issues that everybody else says they have. But I'm thinking it's because I've always had pretty high-end hardware in my rig. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if that's actually a thing. Like, what do you think about that? Is that something to be said for? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are some games where not only do developers just kind of expect, you know, there's only going to be a certain percentage of the PC community that can play this game because they're going to have to brute force through all of the bullshit that we didn't code or optimize properly. But I also feel like a lot of developers sort of expect the PC community to fix some of those issues, whether it's through brute force or just patches that they've made themselves through the modding community or what have you. Absolutely, that kind of thing happens. I mean, I think many times now over the years, people have definitely accused Bethesda of that with things like Fallout 3 and
yeah, but that's the part of Bethesda's charm, though, quote unquote, is it not? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's not a Bethesda game unless you're fighting 70 bugs at launch. Come on, that's part of what we put down for. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I guess I would have less of a problem with stuff like Skyrim or Fallout 4 if they felt more like RPGs and not like open world shoot and loot games. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bitter.
Fallout 4 a little bit, not Fallout 3 though. Fallout 3.
No, Fallout 3 is a good game. I mean, honestly, I think at this point I might rather play Fallout 4 because I don't know what, not over New Vegas, but definitely over Fallout.
New Vegas is untouchable for me.
No,
you know what they say: war never changes, so it doesn't matter what.
War may never change, but Fallout sure as hell does. Apparently,
well, everything gets the Call of Duty treatment.
You know, it's funny, like for me, Phil, because I mean, I know you've been very critical on Fallout 4 over the last couple of years now since the game came out, and I've actually was quite fond of that game. I mean, I don't know. There was just like something that really just stuck out to me with that game. You know, like I wanted to get to the end. I wanted to see if my son was still alive. Spoiler alert, by the way. But when it's all said and done, though, I mean, like I didn't think the game was all that bad, but I do. But when you say like it was more like a loot kind of game, I kind of agree with you on that because Fallout 3 kind of did it a lot better, even though that's my least favorite Fallout game compared to Vegas. But I definitely agree with you on that aspect. I felt more of like loot shoot. You know what I mean? But hasn't Fallout technically been that way since they changed it with 3?
You could argue that, but I think it's to a much lesser extent, especially with New Vegas.
New Vegas' story was like that game was a perfect pace.
Fallout 4 did feel like an action game to me.
Like New Vegas, your decisions, your actions in that game, they matter. Yep. Like factions are important in that game. So, I mean, maybe someone else feels differently, and you're more than welcome to come in the podcast sometime and debate me about Fallout 4 being an amazing RPG. Hey, I wanted to live in denial at first, too. I didn't want the game to not be a good RPG. You know what I mean? But
that game, to me, was so much of an action game that the minute I got the second armor, I never took it off. I just ran through the whole game shooting everything from dead on to the head. It's just
they kind of casual it down a little bit.
It was too easy. Yeah. Like once it was too easy to get cells, it was almost like that's what they wanted you to do.
What do you think, Paul? You think sometimes developers sort of leave it up to us to fix the games or brute force our way through their bullshit as far as like the way PC gamers are treated?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it seems like some developers don't even know what they're doing. Like some of those Japanese developers, they just leave it up to Durante or whoever to just come in and fix it. And
like Demon Souls,
like
Dark Souls, wasn't it Dark Souls 2?
Dark Souls, Tales of Symphonia, Deadly Premonition. That guy just comes in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just the ambassador for the PC community. I'm just gonna fix all your games."
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar with him, can you explain who he is a little bit more?
I don't know. He's just some guy on NeoGAF.
What is he famous for? Like, what is it that he's actually done, though? Like,
well, his most famous was the patch for Dark Souls.
Yeah, Dark Souls.
Allowed you to play in 60 FPS and give you like anti-aliasing and all that stuff.
Another game that fell to that same exact feat as well, but this was more of a community gathering, was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. That was another one that when the developers closed down, that game was still unfinished and broken is beyond belief. So the community actually polished the game off, fixed it, so now it's actually playable. You can now go through as long as you download all the unofficial patches and whatnot. And that's the one thing that I say that I do love about the PC side of the world is the fact that like if you have a game that's broken and you have a dedicated fan base behind it, they're gonna fix your freaking game.
Yeah, it's like a Google search away.
Amazing. It's amazing how they achieve that.
I mean, look, that is nice. It's nice to have that at your fingertips. Like something is a Google search away or a Steam forum search away. That is nice. It is really nice, but it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't have to come down to that. These developers should fix their own games, like, and optimize them better. than what they do. Like, I don't want to make it sound like just like every PC game is like poorly optimized. Like, that's not what we're doing in this podcast, but let's be honest, there's a good handful. And a lot of times those are the AAA games from the big publishers. And that's just, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, PC gamers definitely deserve better for sure.
Well, like I said, nobody's going to do to you what you don't let them do, right? And at this juncture, I think it's almost pretty much accepted that it's going to happen. You release a broken game, someone's going to find an INI file, whatever file they need to go into, and they're going to fix it. Now, for the Japanese devs, not to damage control because it's not right, but from what I understand or what's been the rhetoric or what runs around with them when they release something that's broken is they don't have a lot of experience developing for PC straight out the box, is what people have said. So I don't know if that has anything to do with why a majority of Japanese games. Also, I don't think Japanese, when it comes to like the Tales games, or I know there's a game that who did it? The Bandai Namco games seem to usually run at 30 FPS on PC. I don't know if they think that that's okay or that's just not the standard, or if they tie everything into their frame pacing or frame time, and that's why
it's being lazy.
I don't know if it's lazy, but like, is it lazy? Is it fair to call somebody who goes to work and does what it is? I mean,
well, some people can receive it that way, but I mean, like, but at the same time, there's also that aspect too as well, that the developer designs that game with 30 FPS in mind. But at the same time, like when it comes to a PC game in and of itself, there should be an option for people that want to boost the frame rate up, should have that ability to do so.
I'll grant it. I'll give you that. But like I said, they're not used to providing those options or assets. They're usually used to putting, again, not excusing it or not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying, look, this could be why. I don't see. We've become very cynical over the years, and in a lot of reason, and in a lot of cases, deservedly so, right? But I don't think they always set out to go be like, we're just gonna fuck over our fan base. But that's where we always run to, you know. Maybe sometimes there's legitimate reasons. I'm just trying to look at it from the other side. I know when I get a game that's gonna run 30 FPS on PC, I usually don't get a game that's gonna run 30 FPS on PC actually. But if it happens, maybe, I don't know, but your friend Paul is right. Somebody's gonna fix it. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. So I don't know.
I mean, it could be. I don't want to sit here and make excuses, and you don't want to call every developer that it happens with lazy. I've definitely been guilty of doing that as well. But you don't want to do that. But it could be like a thing of like budget too. You know what I mean? Like they hard coded the game to like 30 FPS, and they know that the bread and butter for said game is on consoles. And, you know, it may even be like an engine issue. Like it may be hard to like get that engine to go beyond 60 FPS because it wasn't really designed with, you know, PC hardware and pushing frame rates to the limit. You know, any number of things. I don't really know. Again, I say this in a lot of videos. I don't try to pretend to know everything there is about programming. I'm not a developer. You guys aren't developers, but we need more transparency so we understand. We need more transparency from developers to let us know like why you tied this game to 30 FPS on PC, and maybe sometimes there is no way to fix it. Why did that happen? Like you know that there are standards that the PC community have set for this platform, and you just have to take things like that into consideration.
That's the question I'm trying to ask. Like, do they know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, maybe they're out of touch. Maybe they're out of touch.
It's like is just for Japanese developers. I mean, and they have to know, right? Like you would think or want to believe that they would have to, because they're developing games that they exist outside of Japan, right? But do they? Like, is the Japanese PC culture a 60 FPS culture? Do they need Is there a Japanese PC culture?
It's probably small in Japan.
You know what I mean? And you're one, what you said is also right, where they're tying the FPS into the frame rate, or into the frame time or the pacing of the game, and that's pretty much probably what they do, because you're right, console is the major seller, so they're probably just putting the port out there, and everything I've said since then is a moot point.
Yeah, And remember, it failed too as well. There's been a couple times too where the developers come out and say that, oh, we're leaving our game locked at 30 for that cinematic feel. I'm sure we've all heard that before recently, like, you know what I mean, when it comes to
the Order 1886.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prime example. So I mean, because when you bring up that point about, asking those developers from a PC standpoint, it's like, why is your game locked at 30? You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. That more than likely they'll probably give you the exact same answer. But we want our game to feel more cinematic for you when you're playing your game. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like, well, 60 FPS can still give you that feeling too as well. If a PC gamer wants it, like what's wrong with that?
Let me ask you guys, like, just and I'm not here to knock you if you feel differently, but have you ever played a game at 30 and then later played it at 60, whether it was like a PC version or some sort of remaster or whatever, and then said, I liked it better at 30. It felt more like a movie. It felt more cinematic. It was better at 30.
I'm gonna say I had the experience once, briefly, very briefly, and it never
just
happened.
For a moment.
Yeah, but The Last of Us.
Yo, same thing.
It was very brief. The Last of Us. When it went from 30 on the PS3 to 60 on the PS4, I couldn't aim. I couldn't do anything for like the first. It took me a while to get used, but then again, at that juncture, at that time, I didn't have a lot of experience with 60 FPS games. So
Joey's absolutely right with that statement too, as well, because they give you the option to turn on 30 FPS when you play the multiplayer in Last of Us. And mind you, I played the game for a while, so I was constantly playing it at 60. But the moment I turned that on, it felt like a slideshow. Like it didn't feel right. Aiming was off, and everything felt completely delayed. Like it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
My first experience with The Last of Us was the PS4 version, so it's hard for me to say whether or not I would. Maybe at some point I can try locking it at 30. I think that's still an option, right? You can lock it to the original.
Yeah, you can
PS3.
switch it back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I like it, Like we talk about it a lot, and oftentimes it is true that 30 FPS, especially if you're talking like a first-person game on consoles, feels a lot different than it does on
100%.
PC. So it could be that as well. And I've talked about this with even a couple of guys in the chat, like John and stuff. Sometimes I feel like I wish I hadn't been spoiled, by the PC platform. I wish I hadn't experienced so many games at 60 or even 100 or more FPS, because sometimes you just kind of want to be like, I'd like to play this game. Oh, wait, no, it runs at 30. I don't like feeling that way about a lot of games. I shouldn't feel that way, but
when you go to console, see, the thing is this, I've been going back and forth lately, but the majority of my time lately has been on console. I've been dusting off the backlog and doing, just trying to catch up on stuff, and I'm up to 25 games beat this year. So, but like I'm playing these games that, like, I just went back and I went on a platinum run for the Order, right? And I have the boost mode enabled on the Pro, and because the Order was put out before that, so it takes advantage. And the game runs, you would not tell me that it's 30 FPS, right? You can tell in certain areas, but it's smooth, it's responsive, it's not what you get 30 FPS when it comes to PC, like you just said, right? And so you understand that. But like it takes a minute second or two and it's gone. Once you get into the game, now mind you, another experience I had, Dishonored 2, I was playing it on my Xbox One S, and I couldn't play the game for more than an hour and a half at a time. Make the screen tearing, the frame dips, I was getting dizzy. I would get a headache. I was just like, I had to stop. So there's always two sides to every coin, right? Some games are, even down to consoles, are well optimized, and some aren't. It's the same thing. But when you look at a console space, how we were talking about there's trade-offs for early access games, right? I believe that that's part of the trade-off in a console space, is that a lot of the games are going to be 30 FPS. The only difference is in the console space, the 30 FPS doesn't seem that bad. It doesn't seem like that much of a trade-off. If you play Uncharted 4 through the story, after a while, you're going to be like, is this 30 FPS? Even Bloodborne is another one. I mean, there are other ways to tell that that game is not a PC game, whether it be anti-aliasing and all these other things, but it's very rarely going to be the frame rate, you know, unless you're in certain areas. That's just, you know, but everybody likes what they like, right? That's why, you know, everything is subjective. But go ahead, Bear. I'm sorry.
Phil, I'm pretty sure since you're always active on Steam, you've heard of the frame rate police, right? That keep track.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was pretty sure that you knew about that group. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. That there's an actual dedicated group on Steam that lets everybody know like when games come out that are locked at 30, and also let you know too as well that if you can actually like edit an INI file or edit a certain file in order to change the resolution. I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, but again, that is nice. But should we have to? Should we have to rely on the PC community? When we pay these developers,
it's still nice to see it there in a way.
No, absolutely. It's good to be in a community that really want to like help each other, you know, reach that next level or, you know, fix whatever issue they're having with their games.
Though, right?
And I mean, I get that, but you know, we have a lot of fun, whether it's on Twitter or in a comment section. But all in all, man, people like what they like. I was in. I think it was Rev's podcast, and Bond was mentioning something about people getting fucked in the ass for PSN and Xbox Live. And I take issue just the same as Bond does, but I also said, look, if people find value in paying for PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live, I can't take that away from them, no matter how I feel about paying to play online. That just is what it is. You can't. If people like playing at 30 and they're fine with 30, you know, that's on them. But don't knock me or say like I'm elitist as fuck because I would prefer to play that game at 60 or even more, depending on the game. So, yeah, Paul, what's up? You still there? You fall asleep?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Did you want to have any more input on any of that? Well, like you said, The Last of Us was sort of your game where you preferred it at 30.
I felt like the cutscenes were more cinematic at 30. The gameplay, I mean, I would prefer 60, of course. But there's something about like a more frame rate that's closer to the frame rate of film that's more cinematic to me. So what were we talking about? Like
that's what we were talking about. Like
that's exactly
what you were saying was exactly what. Are there any other games like? If I don't know, let me give you an example, and maybe this isn't the best example for Paul or Joey. Maybe it would have to be some other game that PC doesn't have. Red Dead Redemption is kind of like always the elephant in the room when you talk about games that PC gamers would want. But I played that game both on PC or PS3 and 360, and I beat it on PS3. I enjoyed the game. I love that game. It is one of the greatest games of all time. But obviously, I would prefer to play that game at 60 FPS, which will probably never happen. It's not looking good at this point. But I guess my question is, if Red Dead was on PC tomorrow, but Rockstar was like, look, we did our best, but we had to lock this at 30. But frame times and everything are super smooth. It's a very well optimized game, but we couldn't get it to 60 or higher. Sorry about that. Would you buy it anyway? I mean, not just the frame rate though. It's locked at 30, but there's still a ton of settings to tweak. I mean, you can definitely get it better looking than the console version. You're just not going to be able to get it running better than the console version.
Okay, here's the question: would you buy it?
I would buy that game
because I've played the game.
I would buy it.
You played the game already too, right? But you haven't played it. Would you buy it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
I would say. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there are exceptions, and I played The Evil Within on PC because it was kind of a mess at launch. I played that game at 30 FPS because unlocking the frame rate at launch was kind of a mess. It's not anymore, at least not for me, but it was. And yeah, I played that game and loved it at 30 FPS on PC. Absolutely.
Here's where what I'm going to say is going to probably sound controversial. Like, oh, what the fuck are you talking about? You play on consoles. I wouldn't buy it because I didn't put the hardware I have in my PC to play 30 FPS games.
You fucking elitist.
I know, right? I would fucking hang me from the fucking wall. Like, I deserve it. But no, seriously, like if I knew going in, like you're telling me it's not because of the limitations of my card or the limitations of my, anything in my system that is just gonna be. No, I didn't build this to play 30. Now, if it's an experience that I should have, or but I've already had that experience. That's the other thing too. I've had that experience on console already multiple times over the years, albeit I haven't had it in 1440 or 4K with MSAA out the ass, and I didn't have that. But I've had what should be what we talk about when it comes to games is the actual gaming experience of it. You know what I mean? And if it's gonna be on that platform, now if you give me, here we go, I'm gonna fuck it up even more. If you give me that game and you put it on my P4 or my Xbox One remastered with all the high-end textures and everything else, I'll buy it. I'm just not gonna buy it on my PC. You know
Paul,
what I mean?
well, how do you feel?
What about if it was Red Dead 2?
If Red Dead 2 was released on PC and it was locked at 30, God,
That I would buy.
Man, you know, I would be very disappointed, but I would still be playing the superior version of that game, and I would feel like at least some of my hardware is getting put to some use. So I guess, yeah, if it was locked at 30, I would still buy Red Dead 2 on PC.
So then at that juncture, can't you just cut the console some slack then?
I cut them slack.
No, look at what you just said. If they gave you the game that you wanted at 30 FPS, okay. So now you understand that a lot of the time on consoles, they can't choose. Right? And they're getting the game that they want the way that the devs can give it to them the best way possible. So
I didn't say that I would give them full price, but I did say that I would get the game. But I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying.
So there you go. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, it's a catch-22 to everything.
Absolutely. Even the games that run really well on PC, I mean, they have their fair share of issues just like every other game on PC or consoles. I mean, nothing's perfect, no doubt. Bear, any game that you would, I don't know. I know how you feel. Like out of this current panel, you probably feel just frame rate is the least important thing. But is there any game?
No. 30 or 60, I'll play it. It doesn't matter as long as it's consistent and, or as RXL said in the chat, locked. I mean, like if you got a game that's dipping below 30, you're gonna have a rough time. If it's dipping below 60. Even still, you're still going to have a rough time playing that game, you know, because you notice it, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Like you notice those frame rate drops. So frame rate to me is more important over graphic fidelity.
Is there any game from like previous consoles or even on PC for that matter that you would kill to play at 60?
Definitely, I would definitely say what you guys were bringing up earlier about Red Dead Redemption, because that's one of my personal favorite games of last generation was that game. That game in 60, I think that game would be fucking phenomenal, man. I'm not gonna lie, dude. But I mean, now that 60 is more common, at least from a console perspective, compared to last gen, it's definitely something that I'm starting to admire a lot more. But at the same time, I mean, like if a game does come out that's 30, I wouldn't effectively ignore it because I've seen a lot of people say that, oh, I don't play games that are 30 on consoles, but then yet go out and buy a console that plays games freaking at 30, but. I don't know. Some of that just bothers me. But overall, as a whole, though, no. I mean, I'm happy either way. As long as it's consistent, it doesn't have that many. It has to be optimized properly.
Listen, with the games you play, we know you're happy.
No, we're not going there.
Okay, let's not. Let's not.
Joe, did you want to add anything else before we move on to the next topic?
Nah, man, I'm good. I done ran this ragged already.
All right. Speaking of running things ragged, I don't.
Are we talking about Dealer?
No, we're definitely not talking about Dealer.
Because they've been riding that boy like he's a dead horse all week.
I know it. We are going to talk about what is probably his favorite upcoming platform, the One X passwords, and Killing Floor 2 no longer being a native 4K, right? To get the game running at acceptable frame rates, which I'm assuming is 60 FPS on the Xbox One X. And nobody that plans to buy the One X or Killing Floor to play on their Xbox One X should be one, surprised about that, and two, disappointed. I just kind of feel like the performance of the game is more important. No, it's not a competitive game, but having that 60 FPS over a native 4K to me is I kind of seen it coming, and I'm with Kraken. I believe he's going by Grady in my chat, but he's a good buddy. That game is probably the first of many that you'll see come out in the next 6 months to a year or more that will be said at one point it's going to be native 4K, and then as it gets closer to release, hey, this game is going to be checkerboard or a lower resolution of some kind. So any thoughts on that? Again, this topic kind of
I don't want to go first this time. Somebody else go first.
Paul?
I mean, it's not surprising at all. I mean, I doubt even my 1070 could get 60 FPS at Killing Floor 2, like when it's full on, like 100 zombies on screen at 4K. Like, I don't see what the controversy is here.
I don't understand why it turned into such a big thing. Like, again, this topic has been kind of ran into the ground.
I'll tell you why. Console people just want to keep throwing shit at each other. My 1 point, however many flops the Xbox One X has over the PS4 Pro, and it's always a mudslinging contest with these people.
Yeah, you ask them what a flop is, and they can't give you an answer.
Oh, fuck. But floating operations per second, I believe is what it is.
Oh,
I asked for more transparency, and I like that Tripwire came out and said, "Hey, look, sorry, I know we kind of said 4K, but it's not going to happen." But at the same time, kind of one of those good and bad things that we were just talking about. Should developers talk about resolution before the game comes out? Like, should they say anything?
Should do what the developer needs to do for them, right? Like, in other words, if they're going to be blamed and you want to cut yourself clear of it, whatever, just say. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, when it comes down to this matter, all it is that the Xbox One X doesn't look like everything Microsoft said it was going to be, and the PS4 people are like, yay, you're not as strong as you thought you were, haha. And then these dudes are like, well, it's the developer's fault. Listen, again, 60 FPS, 1800 native is still running with higher textures, higher everything. See, because a lot of people think that, it's just resolution that goes into what makes a game look good. No, there's other things, ambient occlusion, textures, lighting, shadows, all these other things, anti-aliasing, all these other things that go in, you know what I'm saying, into making the game. Now, you give a bunch of better assets and you give all these things. You put it at 1800p. It runs at 60 FPS native on the Xbox. What is the problem? The problem is there were people who came out and said 4K 60 uncompromised. Or the problem is that there's a guy on Sony's side who bought a PS4 Pro and saw that the Xbox One X has 6.0 teraflops, and now their penis feels a little bit smaller. So they need to find a way to ingratiate themselves and make themselves feel better about it. You know what I mean? And so, like, this is the difference. You understand? Yes, I think people understood, even I understood, that game wasn't going to run everything at 4K 60. You'd be mad. Do people not realize how much of a hit the CPU takes when it comes to running a game at 4K? Alex says it doesn't in a lot of things, and I mean, he has proof that it doesn't. To me, I've always known or said that it has or it does. But I don't think that system on the CPU side is built to run a lot of things without the checkerboarding or whatever it is that they're called to do. Now, mind you, Killing Floor is running native 1800 on the X, checkerboarded up to 1800 on the Pro. So I think it's running at 1600 by 3200, I believe, is what is running on the Pro, and it has a lesser degree of assets. So the Xbox still gets a win, but that's not what it's about. It's not doing the 4K 60, and I submit we still can't get 1080 60 right. Why the fuck are we screaming about 4K 60?
I was actually going to mention that, and we can stick with Killing Floor, but you can apply it to other games. I remember when Phil said, maybe not verbatim, but I'm gonna paraphrase something like, most people don't really care or know about 60 FPS. With that being said, shouldn't you be like, trying to get some of these developers to focus on the performance over that? Like if most people don't know about 60 FPS, you think a lot of people know what all these resolutions mean and how they affect.
But people, as human beings, to give contact that real quick, as human beings, how do we adjust most of the things we do in our life first? What is the first thing we do? If we don't smell it, we see it. So people know pretty. And if this looks a little bit prettier or a lot more clearer than this, I'm going to flock to this. Like, I've never looked at one chick with big boobs and a fat ass and a skinny chick that looks like a boy and said, you know what? I want the boy. No, give me the chick with the big tits and the fat ass.
I guess I'm asking you to maybe squeeze just a little bit more performance out of it. Would a lot of people tell a big difference between even say 1440p and 1800?
I've always said no.
Okay.
You know, I prefer 1440. Like, for me, 1440 is a sweet spot. I got my G-Sync 1440, P144. I've had this going on 2 years. I'm not getting rid of this anytime soon. You know what I mean? This is what I prefer. So, yeah, you can, but that's not what they want. See, for console, and here's the thing too, Icy, and you can attest to this. On PC, $500 is really not a lot of money to put into your rig. You take that same $500, turn around and throw it into a console, they're like, oh, this is a lot for a console. You know what I mean? And so they're going to expect more. I would think that's how that works.
I get that. I mean? And you know what? Like, sometimes I forget just getting caught up in different conversations and debates with some of these people in comment sections and at times on Twitter, that when they go out and spend, because some people aren't buying, you know, a TV, a nice one on a deal where they're getting it for between, you know, $500 and $800. Some people are going out and buying maybe not best of the best, but somewhere in between, and spending at least like $1,500, maybe $2,000 on their TV. So I can see why sometimes it's a little disappointing to find out that a game or whatever, a resolution isn't going to take advantage.
Yeah, but do you really have to invest all that money though into a PC though in order to get yourself a decent enough rig to be able to play modern shit?
Not for performance. No, absolutely
that's
not.
what I mean. Yeah,
that was always my argument. I wasn't trying to, you know, match spec for spec on each console or the Xbox One versus PC. People are like saying, "Hey, where's your 4K Blu-ray drive and all that?"
That's the thing. That's the thing, though. I think that if that's the argument you're going with, then you have to, though. You understand me? You may not be making that argument, right? And I'll grant you that all day long.
Sure.
But these dudes that are like $500 Xbox One X killer, and they don't got an OS and a 4K Blue, I'm kind of gonna want you to put those things in the package because that's what you said. You said you're gonna give me everything and better that this thing does. Well, this thing gives me a 4K Blu-ray player. Where's yours? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the way that goes.
Yeah, if you're saying that you're trying to give everything that this console is giving, and even a 4K native at 60 FPS with every game that you're playing, some PC gamers are lying. They are definitely delusional. I can admit that. To tell a console gamer that you can get 4K native 60 FPS for even under like $800 in most games, maxed out. Okay, I'm not talking tweaking settings here for like medium to high on PC. I'm talking maxed out. So that's not possible. Like, that is not possible to build a machine, match it spec for spec, and still have those games on PC running at 4K 60. You need a very powerful, a very expensive machine to accomplish that. And in my opinion, right now on PC, that is not worth it. It's better to have a 1080p or a 1440p monitor and go 60 to 144 hertz. But that's my opinion. That's just my preference. I can't force that on like super crazy enthusiast PC gamers that, you know, need the best of the best and will upgrade their CPU and their GPU every 4 or 5 months. Hey, that's on them. That's not me. But that's my take.
And that's the thing too, like the upgrade. I've been struggling like, yo, is it time to upgrade? Time to upgrade. Every new card that comes out, you know what I mean? Every new processor that comes out, and I'm like, I still haven't had an issue yet. I have yet to have to turn down a setting. You know what I mean? When I start to have to turn down settings, then maybe I'm gonna be like, Yeah, let's go. I mean, you know, if Bond can rock a 2500 so that shit almost melted in his freaking motherboard, how am I trying to switch out so quick? You know what I mean? But
you're fine in my opinion, you're fine on the CPU side of things. I mean, even when you consider you and I both have the same card, we both have a 980 Ti. I think Paul has like the equivalent, right? The 1070 might be better in some games, but I think actually the 980 Ti might be better.
They pretty much run
games.
neck and neck.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, and Joey, you and I have talked about it, and I've seen you talk about it in your own videos and other podcasts. Like, as PC gamers, there aren't really a ton of exclusives that push even what we have now to the max. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're brute forcing our way through these games that, yeah, they're pretty, but they're nothing amazing. A lot of the more amazing looking games are, you know, your GTAs, your Metal Gear Solid 5s, your Witcher 3s, and things like that. Those games look incredible on PC. But
I can only imagine how Witcher 3 looks on PC.
Oh, it's amazing.
But there's no exclusives that are looking a lot like those games. Now, granted, look, there's more that goes into, you know, demanding games than just, hey, this looks really good, like we just mentioned, like a Witcher 3 or a GTA
like
or something.
Warhammer.
But yeah, Warhammer is very CPU intensive, right? There's a lot of very CPU intensive games on PC, but that's the difference in the audience. I think the communities, like, there's a demand for certain games on PC, like we just talked about. PUBG, yeah, it looks okay, but let's be honest, it's not like a fantastic looking game. It's just not. Overwatch, I know that's available for consoles, but I think the majority of the community probably play that on PC. Yeah, it's got a really nice art style, but it's not really pushing the hardware to the limits. It's just not. Let's be honest.
It seems to me like PC gamers really mainly care more for gameplay than they do for like over the top graphic fidelity wise.
So you're in agreement then that it's possible a lot of PC gamers are hypocrites.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Because I've heard the argument before. It's like, oh, where's the PC graphic fidelity equivalent to that of Horizon or, you know, the Order? And it's like, but does that really matter? You know what I mean? From a PC perspective, it's like, me personally, I don't see it being an issue. I don't see it.
See, to me,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to say, kind of regurgitating from what I was talking about earlier, I can tell you that I'm not going to play this console port coming to PC if they're going to lock it at 30 FPS, but that is a case by case basis. If it was a Red Dead 2, like we talked about, or a Witcher 4, or their upcoming game, the Cyberpunk game, something like that, my tune is going to change. I'm going to buy that game for PC, and I will gladly play said amazing game at 30 FPS. Like, that's just how it is. Like, you can't, anyone that's talking that garbage more and more, and again, I can even admit it for myself, it's kind of just a bunch of garbage. Not all the time, but like Bond, for example, we were just talking about Bond. He was catching some shit in Solid Rev's podcast because he talks all this 60 frames, 100 FPS stuff. And they're like, but hey, you bought Zelda. And he was like, look, that's my favorite game franchise. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a case-by-case basis. And PC gamers all over the world are playing PUBG, and the game doesn't run that well. I mean, it is what it is.
That just leads credence to what I always say. It's okay when it's your shit. If it's something that you want, you're going to find a way to justify it. And so I mean that in any case, if at any way in shape or form at all, you're going to make yourself look like a hypocrite in you know, retrospect, like Bond does when it comes to the Zelda, then just accept it across the board. You really have no room to talk, because if you were really about it, then you wouldn't play Zelda, regardless of whatever it is. You know what I mean? But that's what I mean. Everybody has that one thing. And so when you're not perpetuating your message, that you're giving yourself a way out. You're giving yourself a loophole. And when it comes to PC gaming, yeah, very much. We're back where we started from. They love this PUBG. It's broke as fuck for a lot of people. It has optimization issues. They're gonna accept it. They're gonna run with it because right now it's the new hot shit. You know what I mean? So it's a sad reality. All these numbers and everything, they're just used to poke fun at the other side.
My dick is bigger than your dick, kind of thing.
Are you telling me, or
Definitely
pause,
not. Definitely not. Next topic, what I feel is probably this might be the final topic, but probably the most boring, which is why I saved it for last. PS4 passes 63.3 million units shipped. You guys got any take on that? Some people are starting to believe that maybe the numbers are slowing down. Do you guys see that? Or maybe it's just because there's not any worthwhile exclusives in sight from Sony's like first parties not until next year?
It's slowing down. It's slowing down.
Yeah. You think it's slowing down?
Yeah, it's slowing down. I mean, a lot of people forget that it took Sony 11 years to make 150 mil out the PS2. Because remember, a lot of people forget too as well that the PS2 was around since 2011 before Sony called it quits on that. But when it did hit that final mark in 2006, it was already at 100 mil. So, I mean, and the console was out for what, 2000 and what was the year? Was it 2002, 2001?
2001,
2000, I think it was. I can't remember offhand.
In the US, maybe 2000 in Japan.
Yeah, it might have been 2000 in Japan, or it might have been, I can't remember. Either way, it was only out like as far as like before next gen kicked off with the PS3 and 360. It was out for 5 years, and so 100 million is definitely not bad. And given the aspect now that we're going into we're going to be entering the 5th year relatively soon, and it hasn't even come close to hitting that million mark or 100 million yet, dude. So no, it's not going to surpass 150 million. There's no fucking way, unless
ever.
Well, okay, I don't want to say ever as far as like the actual generation cycle goes, but
its relevancy.
Yeah, thank you. That's a better word to use. But if they end up keeping it on the market for additional 10 years like they did with the PS3 and with the PS2, maybe, but very, very doubtful.
Paul?
I think there must be like fewer core gamers now than there were in the PS2 days. Like, I mean, I guess there's probably more PC gamers and more mobile gamers that have fed off the console market, taking a chunk out of it.
So you're saying like just to generalize, casuals are buying more Xbox Ones and PS4 now than?
No, I'm saying that the casuals that used to play like PS2 moved on and maybe became adults, or I don't know. They moved on to like playing Angry Birds and stuff.
All right, well, Joey?
Angry Birds.
I'm sorry, I was talking to the wife real quick.
Sure.
Just repeat the question.
Just get your thoughts on.
Oh, the 63 million.
Are they
That's
slowing down?
how important it is to me. I
know, right?
2 seconds later.
That's why I said this is the most boring topic.
No, I mean, look, whatever. Is it slowing down? I believe it's been slowing down. Is it a big deal to the pyros and what is the funny looking kid that runs with pyro? The rated D. To them people, yeah, I think it's a big deal, right? Like, to me, I guess not a fuck, right? I guess in they're making money, which is good for everybody involved because console gaming is strong. It's moving forward. It's healthy. We're going to get more games. Hopefully, the Xbox One X will sell it well enough, and the S is going to drop, and that'll sell well enough, and everything will move forward, and they can make money and provide less fuckery for everybody involved. But at the end of the day, I already bought mine. It's sitting underneath my TV. You know what I mean? I don't care how many other people buy theirs.
So what you're telling me is you buy platforms to play good games, not to play sales? That's what you're telling me?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, we did do a me and Bear did a video about sales numbers the other day.
I seen that video.
You know what I mean? But I don't care about the sales. It's just I think some of the hypocrisy needs to be pointed out just a little bit. But that is what it is. I mean, hey, it's healthy, right? And like we said, console gaming pushes PC hardware so the NVIDIAs and the AMDs of the world can keep making their more powerful graphics card because video gaming is healthy. Console gaming is healthy. Gaming is going to be healthy all around. You know what I mean? Now, if the community could accept less fuckery and demand more for their buck and a little bit more transparency and everything else, that would be beautiful as well. But, you know, let's take small steps first.
Do you think the console community will ever step up and maybe have a little bit more to say about, hey, like, why are you raising the price again? Or didn't I just pay more here this year? Or, you know, any type of what I guess would be considered bad business practices or anti-consumer. Like the PC community is very vocal. You know what I mean? The console community sometimes, but a little less. Well, I would say a lot less so.
The PC community is also spending $350 for a CPU. Some of them.
That's true.
Okay, and so here's the thing, and I'm gonna try to bring this. I have a show called Conversation with a Gamer. Right? I don't know if you've seen that. I just started. I'm 3 episodes in. Hope to have you on sometime soon. Actually, if I could plug it real quick, Monday's guest is gonna be Wingy. It's gonna be a little bit later than usual due to the fact that he's coming out of the UK. Me and Dredd, the reason I bring up the show is because me and Dredd, who's in the chat right now, was gracious enough to grace my audience on episode 3. We're talking about paying for online. And here's the thing. Everything on PC is pretty much there for you, right? It's your OS. There's all these Discord, which is maintained by them for free, and they live off of donations, or if you buy the higher version, right? Then you have Skype, which Microsoft does, and all these things are maintained for you. When they sell you online on the Xbox and on the PlayStation, they have to get money for the servers somewhere, right? This is the argument. I want you to pay attention. Like, I'm not damage controlling. This is if you want to look at it rationally, right? You're providing a service that you constantly have to keep under scrutiny. You constantly going to have to put more and more bandwidth or more and more behind it because your population, hopefully, if you're doing the right thing, is going to continue to grow and grow and grow, right? So a lot of this, you need to pay people to monitor this service. You need to pay people that if the service goes down, they're going to have to come in and fix the service. There's all these things that are ingratiated with this service. You just don't say, I'm going to offer millions of people an online service, snap your fingers, and there it goes. There needs to be manpower behind that. You know, we all like to sit and think all these magical things transpire behind the scenes, and it all does with blinks of an eye, and you put a computer on it, and nothing else happens. But that's not how it works. There's sweat, blood, sweat, and tears. There's a lot of things that go into this. Yes, when they raise the price, like PSN is doing for the second time in Europe over I don't know how long, maybe they should tell you why they're raising the price, right? When Microsoft raised the price, I think from $49.99 to $59.99, I believe they came out and said straight away that it was for, you know, to help them secure the DLC and stuff like that they've been accustomed to getting. So pretty much when they raised the price, it went hand in hand with Call of Duty. And I think it also went hand in hand with at the time they were fighting the legal battle with Netflix. I don't think they admitted that, but there was something out there in the wild that lets you know why they were doing it. And, you know, as far as you always say, transparency is a good thing, right? So absolutely. They were transparent. In the case of Sony this time around, Sony hasn't been transparent since the middle of 2015. Okay, I feel
their head's a little too big. You think they're
no, they've been on their fuck you round that shit. They've been on it, and they've been on it for a minute now. But when you go back to the PSN, it's a catch-20. You need the PSN if you want to play online, right? But a lot of other things go into that. Yeah, you can sit there and say, well, these games are free. They're included in the cost of your subscription. But they still got to give money to the developers. They just don't tell the developer, look, oh, thank you for putting a game on PSN. The developer gets a certain amount of money from that. You know, a lot of these things, I'll put it to you like this, and maybe you've heard me say this, or you haven't. And if you have heard me say this, I apologize. I used to work at Madison Square Garden. I started working there in my very early 20s, right? And we were a bunch of hood kids, and we would get tickets to the game. And my boss was like the third highest boss in Madison Square Garden. He was in charge of all purchasing for Madison Square Garden. I worked in the warehouse department. I worked under the general manager of warehousing. And we would get tickets to the game, and we would go through, and we would start sneaking, getting food together. And he would ask us, "Why are you taking food upstairs? They sell hot dogs. They sell this. They sell." And I turned around and told him one time, because it's $7 for a fucking hot dog. I'm not gonna spend that money. And he was like, "This is where you're wrong. You see $7 for a hot dog, right? What I see and what we see is everybody has to eat off of this hot dog. So what's included in that $7 is how much we had to pay for the shipping for the hot dog to get here. How much we got to pay you to go down to the dock to pull the hot dog off and put it in the warehouse. How much we have to pay you to transfer it upstairs. How much we got to pay the cook, the server, everything else. So when we set out a price, this is how we get a price. Everybody has to see something, because if not, we're losing money on offering a simple hot dog. And I believe in turn that's how the online for consoles works. And I'm sorry it took so long.
I don't think it took that long. I get it. Okay. I see that point. I do. I think this generation, if like you were like a super crazy diehard Sony fan last generation, and you were, maybe super excited about not having to pay again, I think a lot of people are like, they're looking at it like, all right, well, they had a bigger install base last generation. I mean, when it was all said and done, they had a bigger install base. They didn't charge me the entire time. Plus was optional. And I could see how they would look at it like, this is just pure greed. Like, charging me now is because you felt like maybe you had a really good chance to win the generation. And they did. They dominated the generation.
But how good was their service? Not saying their service is spectacular now. But.
I mean, would you say, like, I don't know how much some of you guys gamed on the PlayStation 3, but would you say in your experience,
I didn't like Sony's online infrastructure at all.
But would you say it's a vast improvement or just an improvement?
From now to then?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's night and day. It's a significant improvement. You couldn't even talk in a party last year on PS3. You know what I mean? Like
you could, but not in game.
Not in game. And was it up to 8 people? I think it was 1-on-1.
Joey, are you hating on the PS3's #1 exclusive? The White Room is the #1 PS3
Oh, okay, exclusive. Yeah, the White Room. That's right.
The White Room.
The White Room.
The only thing that I remember fondly of that was close to a party chat, but with the exception you could not play any games, was the actual live camera chat that you can actually have like 4 people or 8 people in like one room at a time. That was like the closest thing to a party chat you can get to, but without any being able to play any games at all, period. Like PSN for PS3 was fucking trash. It was garbage. It was fucking horrendous.
Paul, any take on last gen PSN versus this gen PlayStation?
Well, I could say, because I only paid for like 1 year of the PS4, because you had to pay for it. And then after that year, I realized I don't even play games on the PS4 multiplayer. So
you can still chat though, right? Like you can play your games for free and chat on PS4.
Yes, you don't need the only thing for the majority, if I remember correctly, since it's been out, the only thing you need the PSN is to play games online.
So I feel like this isn't a question of greed. It's just, is it good business for them to charge for online? How much do they charge? I'm probably going to pay for Nintendo's service because I get free retro, not free, but you know what I mean. I get retro games.
No extra cost.
And it's only $25 instead of $60. So for me, Sony's not getting my business for what they charge.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
It's part and parcel, I think, just to finish up real quick.
And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying it's part and parcel.
And this is for the chat too, not just the panel, but like Sony was probably going to charge. I called it last generation. I really thought that they were going to charge, but I also felt like it wouldn't be much of a surprise if they kept their ace in the hole, which was free online. So either way, I wasn't really surprised. But what I don't like is that they want to charge for the discounts. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think everyone, even if you don't pay, you get discounts, but you get better discounts if you pay for PlayStation Plus, and I don't like that. I think that that's crazy.
Well,
I think everyone should get the same discounts, in my opinion.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? You got to give them something. If you give something to everybody, then what makes these people feel special? Like, what is their benefit? They just online?
Just online, and I guess the games at no extra cost that everyone says are free.
No, you need to give them more. I don't have an issue with.
As soon as your paid subscription is up, those games are locked. They're not in your library anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing too. Like they do, but I feel like everything is not free. Here's where we get into gaming too, as well. Gaming is a privilege, not a right. Right, and sometimes you have to pay to play. All right, and certain things are behind a paywall, and that's the way these companies see fit. And if you want to get in, you know, it's like that everywhere in the world, right? To some degrees, less than others. But you know, it's either you get in or you don't. But like, if you can't do it, then you don't have to necessarily cry about it. It's okay. Someone else can. Whether you feel they're a fool or not, you know, sometimes let a fool be a fool. You know what I mean? Like, if that person's happy doing what they're doing, why should that affect anything that you're doing over here?
Amen to that.
When it
affects the community or gaming as a whole, then maybe that's when people should speak about it. But nobody's gonna try to put any kind of pricing online for PC anytime soon. So I feel like y'all good over there. If the consoles need to charge or want to charge, and people want to pay, are gonna pay it, and they're gonna make money this way, leave them, let them pay their fucking money. It's not coming out of your pocket. Not you per se failed, but you.
I got you. No, I'm with you. No, it's what I was saying earlier about me telling Black Bond, hey, I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you, but we can't tell people what to and what not to find value in. Like, I can't take that from you. If you want to pay and you think that this is a great service, then that's awesome. That's good for you. I think it's crazy, and I wouldn't do it. I don't want to say ever, not again, because we just talked about frame rates and saying that I'll never play this if it's such and such FPS. I don't want to say ever, but just my state of mind right now, there's no way I would pay to play a console game online. Not right now. There would have to be something like really special, like the next Splinter Cell would have to be exclusive to PlayStation or something, I think, for me to.
Yeah, we need a Splinter Cell.
We do. What the hell? Come on, Ubisoft. They're probably trying to figure out a way to turn Splinter Cell as a, games as a service type of game, and I don't know if you can do that with a linear stealth game, but I'm just being real. That's where Ubisoft is going. In fact, that's.
No, and you're right.
People don't like to hear
it. What did you say?
Go that way.
What did he say? What evil did you wish upon Sam Fisher?
I said Ubisoft is probably trying to figure out a way to make it a games as a service game.
Oh, God forbid. Hell no.
Splinter Cell's gonna have loot like Assassin's Creed.
Oh no,
boxes for $250.
You gonna have multicolored nightshades, night goggles and shit like that.
Oh god damn! I wish we go back to a simpler time.
No, they better not, because they already killed Ghost Recon and
Reckon.
Yeah,
Reckon. That's actually a proper fitting name. Fuck it.
I reckon.
But what they did with Rainbow Six Siege, I commend 100%. They did Rainbow right.
That was right. I agree. That was
the other thing, not so much.
Yeah, I just picked it up today. In fact, actually, I just picked up Rainbow Six Siege today.
Yeah, you were selling. Did you play yet?
I only did one of the actual
training missions.
Yeah, those little training missions they tell you to do to get fucking points. You can unlock operators and shit. I did like 3 of them so far, so I have like 3 operators ready to go, because it's recommended to have at least 3 unlocked before you go into the actual multiplayer portion of it. So
how many do they give you now if you buy the game? Just
none. They give you absolutely
oh,
no
you
operators
have,
at all.
oh, you have
Yep.
the recruits.
Well, no, I mean you can buy the actual DLC characters with in-game currency, but they cost a shit ton of fucking.
Yeah, it's 20. I think it's 2,500 renown per character.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
But
I'm a veteran of the PC Rainbow.
Yeah, but it's weird because like that was a game when I played it in closed beta, I was just like, this game is fucking. I was very indifferent with it, but the more I kept on seeing like it evolve and it's still going through the. Like,
no, that game was great. That game was.
Yeah, I'm glad that I bought it. I'm glad that it was only like $20. I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it.
Icy, you still playing?
Rainbow?
Yeah,
I haven't for a while. I got like 100 hours in that game though. I feel like.
Yeah, when the hell you got 100 hours already?
Yeah.
I remember when you got it, it wasn't that long ago.
It was like January or something, I think. February.
Yeah, I put 100 hours since January. It's just nothing. Okay.
I do like the game. I do like the game. It's a very good game. I agree with you. I think what they did with Rainbow and just everything about it as far as any microtransactions or, getting some of those characters in advance or whatever. I'm fine with how they did Rainbow, but
I'm just happy that like they're not forcing me to buy season 1 and season 2. You know what I mean? Like if I want to get the actual in-game currency to get those characters unlocked, I have the free willingness to actually do it. And I like games that do that. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But
I might go download it now so I can run around with you because I have the season 1.
Appreciate it.
I have the season 1 DLC on console.
Bear, I don't even know if I want to hear your take on this, but speaking is games that are sort of games as a
bad, huh?
I really genuinely liked, and my hours prove it, the Division. I love that game.
I played the game, so
no, I know, but
what I say about it is irrelevant.
But when I talked to you about it later, you weren't very nice.
No. To be fair, I think what it was is the fact that I was more generally pissed off that they took that long to implement that new structure to the game. And clearly it's going under yet another one too as well, because they recently did like a free test public beta for like their newest up that they're coming out with there relatively soon to like completely change a lot of the new shit in the game. It just like me, like I beat it, I played it, and like that was it. Like I just didn't really. I mean, I tried out some of the actual like the raids or the supposed whatever you want to call them there, and they were just fucking broken, dude. Like straight up broken, and it seemed like I basically lost faith in the devs, like getting their shit together and fixing it. And then when it finally came to when they changed it with like the whole entire tier system or the instances, however you want to look at it. At that point, I just didn't care. I just did not care to want to ever play that game again. But
I feel like the Division. I love the game, I do, but I almost feel like if it was more focused and there was more of a story, even a game that you could play by yourself, it would be a much better product. Keep everything else. I mean, well, not everything else, but keep most things the same, but make it a more focused game.
Yeah,
and actually have a story there. It would be great.
And I'm glad that you said that too as well, Phil, because like that was a game that like when I first saw that during like the PS4 reveal a long time ago, I was like, dude, this is a game that I would definitely run up and buy a PS4 for, just for that game, because I fucking love Tom Clancy games. So that game was like an immediate hook for me. And then as time went on, and then I saw the way the game was played, and then like eventually I got the PS4 and I tried the beta for it. I was just like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? It's like that traditional standard Ubisoft thing, right? Like bullshot, and then like you get the end result, and it's just like, huh? The fuck did you guys do? Watch Dogs got it. You know what I mean? But I mean, lately Ubisoft has been kind of keeping truthful with their reveals, but we'll see how long that lasts.
I like Ubisoft. I mean, they've
They're
definitely
not a bad company. It's just like their games are addictive as shit. I will say that.
They got my number. What might could be my game of the year coming out this month.
What is it? What are we talking about?
Mario X Rabbids on the Switch.
That is not your game.
I think that's going to be my game of the year. Listen. You got XCOM on a very competitive degree. And then you got the fucking Rabbids and running amok with Mario. Come on, like.
Are you really gonna buy it though? Like you're gonna get that
day one? Like what are you
that
talking
game
about?
does look good, dude. Like real talk, that game looks.
You need
very
dude,
promising.
that game. I am. 100% behind that game. Like I'm day one. I'm actually gonna carry the Switch around with me to places playing that shit. Like,
isn't it weird though, Joey? Like XCOM is like, you know, like one of those more like authentic, realistic, popular franchises has been around for fucking God only knows how long, right? Mm-hmm. And then like you take that same formula, but you like dumb it down a little bit to the Mario characters and the Rabbids.
Actually, if you look at gameplay, it's not been dumbed down at all. And then they actually put some very not dumbed down, but unique. I mean, they put some unique mechanics in the XCOM gameplay, which is actually like, I'm looking forward to.
That game like blew my mind when Ubisoft opened that press conference up this year at E3 with that game, because I wasn't really expecting a whole lot from it, you know, because most people in the community, like Nintendo fan or not, thought that game was going to be like an absolute atrocious concept. But then what they showed off was just like, yo, they actually fucking got something here. Like they got something going with this concept for it, man. And it's definitely going to work. And that combat alone, like, looks like you can have like hours of fun with that shit, dude.
Yeah, that's really, gotta be the only thing that throws a wet blanket on that fire for me. Is that, and I don't get excited about games. Bear tell you, I've been rocking with Bear over a year now. I don't get excited. I don't look forward. I don't get hyped. I'm hyped for this game. Like, I want this game in a bad way. And the only thing that's going to quash that for me is if there's not a lot of content in that game. If that game is like a 5 or 6 hour thing because they're going to look at the mobile aspect of it and everything else, that's going to really...
They did say how long the game was going to be. And if I remember correctly, it was supposed to be like 10 to 15 hours, I think they said.
I'm good with that. And if you switch up the maps and do some replayability and... Because there's so many things you could do. You have to pick a party of 4. Mario is a constant in your party, and all these different things, all these different pairings lead to these different techniques and different. I'm just really excited for it. Fuck it, I'm excited for a Switch game.
Ubisoft had they kind of had a too little, too late moment in the last week or two. What's that game that came out earlier this year, or was it late last year? The combat game,
For Honor.
Yeah, For Honor. Yeah, it recently got dedicated servers, but the reception to that has just kind of been like, oh well, you know, sorry Ubisoft, this came just a little bit too late. Everyone's kind of moved on to new games. PUBG kind of happened, right? People still love Overwatch and CS:GO, Dota, and the like. And I think that's unfortunate. Like, I don't know how you mess that up. Like, how do you give a game that's that competitive, that sort of relies on input and timing, and not have dedicated servers out of the gate? Like, that shit is crazy.
Here goes back to the whole thing. It costs money to run these servers. I remember on Rainbow, here's the thing. I remember when For Honor dropped. Was it For Honor or was it The Division? Either one. I remember when one of those I think it was The Division, because I was heavy into Rainbow at that time. I remember when The Division dropped, the Rainbow servers were gone. They were down. They were lagged. They went to shit. So to me, that tells me that they have a finite number of servers and they're probably picking and choosing what goes where. You know what I'm saying? So it costs money, you know, and look at what again, not to offer a developer a pass, right? But, you know, they are trying to stave off the whole Vivendi takeover and all this other shit that they got going on. And so
I think they're just going to have to eat that at some point. Like, it's going to happen.
Making games with Mario, like, listen, you know, somebody told me, and I'll reiterate this right here. Do you know how big of a deal it is that Nintendo gave Mario to Ubisoft for them to make a game with them?
Fair point.
So, like, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I'll give you that. It's kind of a big deal. It is.
So, like, it's hopefully they can generate something and move forward. They could. I would like to see them stay Ubisoft and stay out of Vivendi's hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice.
Vivendi has a not so good track record, but they only have themselves to blame for the shit that they're in, right? And like you said, dedicated servers, it is probably a little too late for the Honor. And I'm surprised that the Honor didn't do better on PC, because the controls on PC were excellent. Yeah,
I didn't play it.
Yeah, that is a little odd. Yeah, now you brought that up.
You use the mouse for your stances and whichever way you want to attack and everything, and it was just a lot more fluid to me than it was on controller.
I thought it was a good looking game. I mean, I know I was just watching YouTube videos and a bunch of different feeds, but you could tell like it was a nice looking game. It looked well optimized, so it's unfortunate. It's just shitty. Too little, too late. Any other topics that maybe we didn't discuss that you guys know about? Anything at all?
Here's a conundrum.
Okay.
So Super Mario Odyssey and Wolfenstein 2 come out on the same day.
Both of them.
Well,
I hate saying this, but Mario was going to sell more.
That month is just crazy for games in general, but that day is, even if I had a Switch, man, I gotta get that. I gotta get that Wolf too. I got a dude brought it up.
Wolfenstein looks fucking incredible, man.
But Mario Odyssey, and I'm just being honest, I may end up liking Wolf 2 more. Mario Odyssey, man, like that's probably going to be Game of the Year type of material. I think a lot of the major publications and stuff. I mean, I think so. What else is going to?
They're going to make it Game of the Year.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to those major Mario and Zelda titles, you might as well just clear the way, unless you're like a Rockstar or a Naughty Dog or something. Just clear the way, because honestly, I can't even really see Mario beating out Zelda, and if it does, it'll just be like.
Mario is going to beat out Zelda.
You think so?
No, yeah, by a fucking.
Yeah, lot. Zelda. Out of the two of them, Zelda would be considered the niche title.
Yes, believe it or not, like even in Japan, like Japanese people do not care for Zelda as much as they do for Mario. Like it's fucking weird, but yeah, no. And I hate saying that too as well, but like Mario, it's fucking Mario, man. Like that name.
Yo,
sells,
Mario,
right?
you see, like what's the one dude that be on Ignan? That he looks like a hipster fuck, but I think he just never left the 70s. So I think his look is legit. I think it's Sam Claiborne. I think he's one of the higher editors. He got the real thick 70s porno mustache and the 70s haircut. Anytime he talks about Nintendo, you can just see like unnatural things go on in his head, right? And he's like the major editor of IGN. Come on, Splatoon 1 shooter of the fucking year. Sorry, I don't need to curse. But Splatoon 1 shooter of the year, right? And it's Nintendo. There is that thing for Nintendo, and this is Mario. It's going to happen. They going 6 out of the 10 major publications, if there's even 10 major publications, are going to give Mario Game of the Year, if not more. It's just the way it is, even if it don't deserve it.
Let me break it down. We can come back to Mario and Wolf 2 in a second. But in October, I think that this is easily the craziest month. You have Forza 7, Shadow of War, The Evil Within 2, and as far as I'm concerned, that is the big one for me. Gran Turismo Sport, South Park, Destiny 2, Assassin's Creed, Mario, Wolf 2, and whatever the fuck Constructor Plus is. I have no idea. That sounds like one of those games that would just be sort of like on the Switch or PC out of nowhere or something like those. And there's probably more games like your indie titles that don't often get mentioned until they come out and sort of surprise everyone. But October is nuts in 2017. You cannot deny that that's a crazy lineup.
And they want you to turn around and fork over $500 for a system in the next month.
That's right. Yeah, the Xbox One X. Yeah.
And so, like I always say, gaming's not a right; it's a privilege. And so here's my conundrum, right? Because last year, around from August to December, I dropped close to $2,500 on gaming between the S, the Pro, the VR, all the games, accessories, all the bells and whistles for that shit, right? Fuck it. It's my choice. That's what I did, right? I did that last year. And so now I'm close to running another $1,500 at least if I buy this console at every game. Yo, at some point, we all work, we all make money, we're on YouTube, everybody's fucking rich, right? But at some point, my wife be looking at me like, nigga, like, really? Like, are you not going to stop at a certain degree? So you're going to have to pick and choose, right? Has the X done enough to show me that I need to spend $500 on this console and get all these games or all these
No,
games.
but you know you're gonna do it anyway.
Well, yeah, we know what I am. We know I'm addicted. I got problems. Do I need to have all these games day one? It's funny because this nigga Fame put up a Twitter post yesterday. Like, yo, am I the only one that buys a game and gets to it 3 or 4 months later on? I was like, nah, I just started playing Mankind Divided. I just now started playing Mankind Divided.
I should probably beat that game before the year's over. I should definitely get to that.
You know, and then
How is that game? How is that game?
Let me tell you that I've been playing the game for 5 hours and I've done 2 missions. Because I'm going everywhere and looking for
that game is definitely not the faint of heart when it comes to, like, you know,
those are my kind of games. I like the busy work, go everywhere, do it all sort of thing.
It's on console. I'm shocked. On the Xbox One S, I maybe the HDR has something to do with it and everything. It's a very good looking game on that system, and I'm enjoying the shit out of it. But yeah, I don't know. That's gonna be another. God, how many hours? I just put Final Fantasy to bed. I put a bunch of games to bed over the last couple weeks and shit. But you know, do we need all these games? Like, yeah, we need them, right? Because we're gamers.
You play that.
What happened, Ben?
Yo, don't kill me. Don't kill me, RXL. Anyone else in the chat? Anyone on the panel? I think Paul already knows this, but man, I still have Uncharted 4 in the plastic. He said he's got Witcher 3 in the plastic. I have an Uncharted 4.
Do me a favor, Phil. Keep it that way.
Yeah,
look, I'm sure it's a good game, but everyone tells me kind of the same thing, that it's a very good game, but it's the worst of the 4. The main.
Yes, it definitely is out of the 5. Because there's 5 Uncharted games, I would put it underneath even the Vita one.
Look, and I love Uncharted. I'm not like one of these YouTube frauds. Like, I love the first 3 games. I platinum. You can go and check my trophies. I have the platinums for those games. I love Uncharted, but I'm really worried that maybe it's best to just leave it alone at 3 or something, and I just shouldn't play Uncharted 4. I don't know.
To me, it goes 2-1, Vita 3-4. That's how the Uncharted series rates for me. Like, the 4, just the pacing issues in 4 are not. It's beautiful. It's Sony at its best. It's Naughty Dog at visually. You know what I mean? But
visually at its best, but not storytelling and gameplay.
No, the story. I say this all the time. There's like one moment in that game where I sit down and go, fuck, if they had like video game Emmys or video game Oscars, this chick should win it right here. And they do it with the Jeff Keighley shit, but that shit don't count for shit. That nigga was ready to cry and hug Kojima. I can't quit you while he's giving this nigga an award he won a year ago. But it's like, that was it. That was the only part of the story that I felt anything ingrained in me, had any type of feeling for, was this one scene in chapter, I think, towards the end, and it's, I don't even remember the chapter. Other than that, yo, it's the same thing. You kill 1,000 people, jump, climb, find a treasure, just done rather poorly from a pacing and story perspective.
Jump, climb, almost fall off a broken piece of wood. Yeah, like
I agree with that. 4 had a decent ending.
Man, people hate when I say this, but out of the first 3, I think 3's the best one.
4's ending, I could see 4's ending being really, really good, but I think
I would
to me in terms it's the worst.
Fucking Uncharted at all.
I like them all, man. 1 is definitely the most difficult one for sure. If you put it on crushing, it's definitely the most difficult. The first one, yeah.
I just beat that the other day because I beat 2, 3. Vita and 4. I never got around to beating 1. I went back and beat 1 on the remaster. I really enjoyed part 1. Really enjoyed the fuck out of part 1. Like it was a breath of fresh air going from the super real, hyper realistic, serious 4. Like, you know, they try to give you the ABC daily soap opera story. Like, was there ever a Malaysian job? Like, going to this fun, lighthearted adventure that they were on in part 1. I really think that they should stay that way. Like, they don't they have The Last of Us for the super serial, right? They don't need Uncharted to do that as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted it to be that, but it's like, no, Uncharted's always been kind of lighthearted and fun. Like they don't need to get super serial with this series. But yeah, I like the first game. It felt, when I first played it on the PS3, it felt fresh because there was like a long run of I don't want to say really, really bad, but just mediocre Tomb Raider games, and you needed that. You know what I mean? It wasn't until Tomb Raider 2013 where I'm like, okay, I would put Lara back on top again. I do think the last couple of Tomb Raider games are better than those games.
Oh my God, yo! Can we end the show now? They're coming.
You think
they're coming?
They're coming after me?
You don't
My
hear the
channel's gonna
hooves.
get flagged.
You don't hear the hooves. They're sharpening up.
Oh man, we can close it out. We
What
can.
say about Lara Croft?
Nah, but I agree with you. I prefer Tomb Raider. I don't know if it's because I played pointy tip polygonal Lara back on the PS1 or why. Tomb Raider is
shit.
Is my shit. Like, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I mean, if you're right, yeah. I mean,
Nathan Drake will always be a wannabe Indiana Jones to me.
See, I don't even consider him Indiana Jones. There's a movie from the 80s called Romancing the Stone. It was like a B-tier flick. I consider Nathan Drake more along the lines of Romancing the Stone than I do Indiana Jones. Like, that's because, you know, the level of, you know, hijinks and everything else. Until number 4 again. So, anyway.
I think there's really like no more topics. There probably is, but as far as I'm concerned, there's no more topics. But we can close it out, and you guys can do your outros or whatever. I want to say thanks to the chat. We all appreciate it. I know that much.
Yes, we had a very nice, pleasant chat.
There's actual gamers in here. There's
you know what I mean? Yo, you know what? Give yourselves a round of fucking applause.
Thank you for supporting real gamers.
We appreciate it. RXL in the chat. Thank you, RXL. Blaze.
Thank you, RXL. Yeah, Blaze.
Shred. Everybody that was there. 4 Horsemen.
4 Horsemen, yeah.
Thank you.
All we need is a collective Patreon now. And
that's it. That's all we need, man.
I got 50 cents to put towards it. Who's with me?
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Any cent, any dollar, it counts. But yeah, I appreciate it. The Divide episode 9. There will be an episode 10. Just
in another 4 months.
In another 4 months. Probably, maybe not 4 months, maybe a couple months when the crazy month of October comes out. We'll roll one out. But yeah, man, thank you guys a lot. We appreciate it. You guys take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.